Welcome to the world of prepping. I know it's a scary place, but we're here to help. Canned food is your best friend, your savior, your lifeline. It's not just food, it's hope. Hope that in times of need, you'll have something to sustain you. I remember the day I first realized the importance of canned food. I was just a young prepper then, fresh-faced and eager to learn. I was stocking up on supplies, rows upon rows of them, stacked high to the ceiling. It was like a beacon of hope in an otherwise dark and uncertain world. I grabbed a can of corned beef hash and held it in my hands. It was heavy, solid, dependable. I knew that no matter what happened, as long as that can remained intact, I would have something to eat. And now, years later, I still believe that canned food is the best prep you can do. It's not just about the convenience, although that certainly helps. It's about the security, the peace of mind that comes from knowing you have something to rely on. Canned meat is a must-have. And while corned beef hash is a classic favorite, there are plenty of other options out there. Spam may not be my personal preference, but it's a reliable source of protein. And canned chicken, while not the highest quality, is a great addition to any meal. I know it may seem silly to stockpile canned food, but trust me, it's worth it. There's something comforting about knowing you have a supply of food that will last indefinitely. It's one less thing to worry about in a world full of chaos. Let's talk about canned meats, shall we? I know, some of you may be turned off by the thought of meat in a can, but hear me out. First up, sardines are another option for all you fish lovers. A little on the pricey side, but it's a great source of protein and can last for years without going bad. And if you're a fan of canned chicken, then you'll love canned turkey even more. And of course, we can't forget about canned tuna. This little fishy can last for decades without losing much of its nutritional value. Sure, it may be a little more mushy than fresh tuna, but there's no risk of bacteria or fungus in there. As someone who follows a keto diet, canned meats are a lifesaver. And even if you're not on a specific diet, protein is essential for surviving and delicious. Plus, who knows, during a crisis, that can of corned beef or sardines may just become your new favorite meal. Now that we've covered canned meats, let's move on to the next category. Canned veggies. I know what you're thinking. Canned veggies? Yuck. But hear me out. Studies have shown that canned veggies are just as nutritious as fresh produce. That's right, you heard me correctly. And in some cases, they may even be more nutritious. Shocking, isn't it? Take French-style green beans, for example. The only ingredients are green beans and water. And if there's a little extra salt in there, don't worry about it. It's actually good for you, especially when it comes to electrolytes. But it's not just green beans. You can stock up on all kinds of canned veggies. Whole kernel corn, sweet peas, and so much more. And the best part? They'll last practically forever. So when fresh produce is scarce, you'll still be able to get your daily dose of veggies. And let's not forget about canned potatoes. Yes, they have their own category. Potatoes may not be a vegetable, but they're a versatile ingredient that can be used in so many dishes. And when they're canned, they're just as good as fresh potatoes. So, my friends, don't be afraid of canned veggies. Embrace them. They're a great addition to any prepper's pantry. And who knows, you may even find a new favorite veggie. Let's talk about potatoes. Yes, you heard that right, potatoes in a can. When the pandemic hit, my wife and I were curious about how potatoes in a can would taste. So we bought one from Aldi and we were pleasantly surprised. These cans of whole potatoes are perfect for making potato salad or even mashed potatoes. And the best part? They last indefinitely. So even if you're not a fan of potatoes, having a few cans of these on hand can come in handy during an emergency. Now let's move on to canned beans. Beans are a must-have in any prepper's pantry. They're packed with protein and can be used in a variety of dishes. Whether you're a fan of black beans, light red kidney beans, or dark red kidney beans, there's something for everyone. And if you're feeling fancy, try some vegetarian baked beans. They're delicious. But here's the thing about canned beans. Over time, they'll break down and turn into bean juiciness. But don't worry, it's still just as nutritious and can be used to accent any dish you want. So make sure to stock up on some canned beans. Canned food may not be the sexiest option, but it's definitely the most practical. So the next time you're at the grocery store, don't forget to pick up a few cans of whole potatoes and beans. Who knows, they might just save your life one day. Beans are a great addition to any prepper's pantry. They're a good source of protein and can be used in a variety of meals. But let's not forget about canned soups and chilies. These underrated canned goods can be a lifesaver during a crisis. Amy's chili is a personal favorite of mine. It comes in different spice levels, so you can choose the one that suits your taste buds. And when paired with some rice, it makes for a satisfying meal. Plus, it has a long shelf life, so you can stock up on it without worrying about it going bad. When it comes to soups, Campbell's is a classic choice. We chose their soups because they use all natural ingredients, without any added preservatives. And while they may not be the most exciting option, they're a reliable source of nutrients, especially when you're feeling under the weather. Having a variety of canned soups and chilies is important. They provide electrolytes and much-needed sustenance during tough times. Plus, they're an easy way to add some flavor and for any prepper's pantry. Remember to check the expiration dates and store them properly, and you'll have a supply of food that will last indefinitely. Do you ever find yourself asking, is it really worth it? I know I have, especially when it comes to our freeze dryer. Don't get me wrong, I love our freeze dryer. There's something satisfying about being able to turn leftovers into long-lasting snacks. But let's be real, it's not cheap. $3 for a machine that can freeze dry your food. That's a lot of money that could be spent on other prepping essentials like canned food. Now I know what you're thinking. Canned food is nothing special. It's not as fancy as freeze-dried food, but that's exactly why it's so great. It's affordable and already prepared. Plus, it can last indefinitely if stored properly. I mean, who wouldn't want to enjoy a can of corned beef hash or some spicy Amy's chili during a crisis? But as with anything, there are some canned foods you want to avoid for long-term storage. One of those categories is canned fruit. Yes, I know it's tempting to stock up on those jellied cranberry sauces or juicy peach slices, but trust me, they won't last forever. We learned this the hard way years ago when we stocked up on giant number 10 cans of peaches. We thought they would last us a lifetime, but they didn't. So when it comes to canned food, stick with the essentials. Canned meat, like corned beef hash and chicken, is always a safe bet. And don't forget about veggies like peas and corn. They may not be as exciting as fruit, but they'll certainly last longer. There are a few things you need to know about certain types of canned foods. Let's start with acidic foods, like fruits and tomatoes. While they can last for years in a can, they may develop a metallic taste over time. Don't worry, they're still perfectly edible, but just be aware that the taste may not be as pleasant. I've personally had peaches that expired years ago, and while they tasted metallic, they were still safe to eat. So don't be afraid to stock up on your favorite fruits and tomatoes. Just be mindful of the taste. Now let's talk about canned evaporated milk. This one's a bit of a mystery. While it's technically sterile, it may not last as long as other canned foods. It's best to consume it before the expiration date, as it may start to break down and develop an unpleasant smell and texture. If you're looking for a long-term milk option, powdered milk is a better choice. And finally, there's one category of canned foods that I highly recommend: tomato paste. These little cans are a lifesaver when it comes to making homemade sauces. And the best part? They last for years past the expiration date. I've personally used tomato paste that expired a few years ago, and it still worked perfectly. Just add water and your favorite spices, and you have a delicious sauce in no time. So there you have it, my top picks and warnings when it comes to canned foods. But I want to hear from you. What are your favorite canned foods to stockpile? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and stay prepared.